Beam me aboard.
Energize.
Energizing.
Kirk to transporter room. Report.
You're listening to Transporter Room 3 with your hosts, Phil Perello and Scott Calora.
Welcome back to another much-anticipated, long-awaited installment of Transporter Room 3. I am co-host number 1, or number 2, depending on your viewpoint, Phil Perello.
And I'm Scott Calora, co-host number 2, definitely co-host number 2.
I'm definitely number 2. You're number 1. Get it? You're good there? So it's been a little while. Nothing much has been going on, right, Scott? I mean, no Star Trek Into Darkness announcements or anything. So this is a short podcast.
Yeah. How long has it been? Hours have seemed like days. So
I'm going to apologize to all the listeners, all 9 of you that have clung on to us for the sound coming from my end. I'm currently outside stealing some internet. So
doing number 2.
This is a remote broadcast, if you will.
Straight from regular 1.
Straight from regular 1.
Yeah, so I don't think we have... What's that?
The garden spot at City Alpha 6. That's where I'm broadcasting from.
Yeah. I don't think we have any good excuse, really, as to why it takes us so long to get a podcast up these days, so we'll just move on to our first reader mail in recent weeks. I just wanted to call out to this listener, Lyndon, who emailed us just to basically praise the Deep Space Nine episode Duet, which is, I believe it's the second to last episode of the first season.
Right.
And Lyndon said, "Hey guys, just had a pretty big moment in my life as a Star Trek viewer and wanted to share. DS9 has always have had a fond place in my heart as the first Star Trek series to really go there, meaning that it truly treads ground that would have had TNG and old series viewers running for cover." And he goes on to say that the scene that got him thinking about this was on Deep Space Nine's episode Duet, where it's the one where Kira basically spends the episode interrogating this Cardassian war criminal, right? Who, in the end, it turns out the guy was just a file clerk, but he was so overcome with guilt from what he had seen and sort of kind of placidly let happen in his presence, I guess, which was all the war crimes the Cardassians committed, that he basically has a nervous breakdown and comes to think that he is this sort of Hitler type figure of the Cardassian War. And so Lyndon just kind of wanted to call out to that episode and talk about how you really get into the emotional complexity of some of the characters like Kira. And so we just wanted to point out that email. It's always nice to hear from you guys talking about Deep Space Nine, our beloved Deep Space Nine. Speaking of which, Phil, you texted me last night.
Right. My girlfriend and I have started, which I've talked about with all 6.1 of our listeners in the past.
Went from 9 to 6.1.
Yeah, we've dropped in this broadcast already. I have the Nielsen sheet. It's at least if we can reach out to one person, Scott, that's all that matters.
My mom.
Well, your mom stopped listening a while ago, so maybe we're as I've said before, my girlfriend and I are slowly and surely marathoning and revisiting Deep Space Nine and Next Gen. And the other night we marathoned 5 DS9 episodes, and one of them was Sacrifice of Angels, which we talked about in our episode.
You guys watched 5 episodes of Deep Space Nine last night?
Yes, we did.
Wow.
We started at 6 and went to 11.
To be young and in love.
What?
To be young and in love.
To be young and in love and unemployed, sir.
So
Living la vida unemployed.
So what was the one that led to the moment?
Well, Sacrifice of Angels is one of the best episodes of Deep Space Nine, especially in the combat arena.
Yeah.
And it ends with spoilers. An important character, Gul Dukat's daughter, is killed.
Right.
Zial. And that caused my girlfriend to start to cry. And not just tear up. I'm talking Steel Magnolia's finale convulsing type tears. Like the back is doing that weird spasm mid cough thing. She's making those weird sounds. And then I was shocked. I didn't know what was wrong. Then I realized she was crying at the episode. And then I made her laugh about it because she's crying at Star Trek, which I've never seen happen. The closest I've ever come to crying at Star Trek is tearing up during that 10-minute birth sequence in Star Trek 2009. I did kind of tear up a little bit there. I got a little verklempt, and I cry whenever David dies in Star Trek 3.
That's the only time you've ever gotten emotional watching Star Trek?
No, well, it's the only time where like tears threaten to come out of my eyes.
Okay.
I have feelings, damn it. I'm not a Vulcan.
Oh, so like when Data's daughter died, you didn't cry for that one?
I was too young to know what real sadness was at that point in my life. But,
how about when Data had to say goodbye to his pen pal? Did that one make you cry?
No, that one made me laugh awkwardly.
I think I defecated uncontrollably when I saw that one.
That's for another podcast. That's for TR3 After Hours.
So
and then
anyway,
she cried
your
even
girlfriend...
harder. She cried even harder when Garrick comes back from battle and he's searching the promenade for Zial. This guy who's alone all his life, uncomfortable with trying to find that one person who accepts him, and then to have her stolen.
Yeah.
And she started sobbing uncontrollably at that point.
Well, I feel her pain, and it's obviously you guys are a match made in heaven, that you found a girl who would cry at Star Trek instead of
We're
laugh
a match
at
made
you.
in Shakari.
Now, was Garrick, was that a romance between them, or was it sort of a budding romance between him?
It was like a summer winter thing going on. There was no like fling, but there was more like a very affectionate relationship. I felt there was no like clear cut romance. Maybe it could have gone that way, but I just always got the impression that Zial was like 18, 19, 20, and Garrick was 40 years old, which is like pervy.
Yeah, I think maybe older than 40 even.
Older than, right. He's been around
40 in Cardassian years, maybe.
Right.
It's like dog years.
Right.
Don't forget, Gul Dukat, that guy was the same. They would flash back to like the Cardassian occupation when Kira was a baby, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And Gul Dukat was the same. He hadn't aged, like he wasn't any younger back then, right?
Dukat has a really good plastic surgeon.
Yeah. Well, when you have a harem of Bajorans, you need to maintain your appearance.
Harem of Bajorans is the alternate title to this podcast in Guam.
Okay, so there was some actual Star Trek Into Darkness news though, a few days ago.
Kind of big. We're finally going to get our first look at the film in two different ways. The first is a 9-minute preview exclusively on IMAX screens of the first 9 minutes of the film, which is, I have a little nerd boner over that. I did geek out hardcore when I read that news. And immediately on the heels of that news was the announcement that we're also going to get a trailer for Star Trek on both of these coming out December 14th.
Is that true? But I've heard conflicting. I've heard conflicting things now about that trailer. Then, is It seemed like some sites were reporting that actually no, the trailer is not happening, which doesn't. I'm not sure that makes sense, but
What sites are reporting that? Are they broadcasting from the land where facts go to die? Because
I can't recall. Yeah, but they weren't maybe the most reliable of sources. I can't recall though.
Well, movies spelled with 3Z's.com. I would not trust them, Scott, if I were you. Movies.com. From what I know, the trailer is happening. The IMAX is happening. The catch is, the IMAX, it's only showing on, IMAX 3D and IMAX screens for The Hobbit. And you won't get the trailer with it. If you want the trailer, you have to pay separately to see The Hobbit in a non-IMAX venue.
Right.
So what I will be doing is, yes, I will be paying to see it twice, but I will immediately leave as soon as the trailer is over and refund my money. Because I have no desire to see The Hobbit.
Will they refund your money?
Oh yeah.
Just don't wear your Star Trek tunic when you're trying to get the refund.
I won't. I'll wear my entire Hobbit gear and I'll walk out going, "Oh my God, I can't be here to read with my babysitter." Then they'll be like, "You're lying because there's no way you have a child. There's no way a woman mated with you willingly and gave you spawn."
So it's going to be the first 9 minutes of the movie, I guess, right?
Right.
Essentially, if you think of the 2009 film, all the stuff with the Kelvin, right? The birth of Kirk, which made you cry. That was probably how long. You probably could tell me exactly how long that sequence was.
There's probably 10, 12 minutes, Scott.
Yeah.
I'm gonna venture that.
Okay. All right. I'm disappointed that you couldn't break it down
Exactly.
to the second mark.
I'm disappointed too. I'm actually crying on the inside.
But so it's going to be that I guess it's probably a pre-credits sequence.
I think so. I got a feeling it involves, Spock's volcano suit. I have a feeling that it's an independent teaser that is free of the main plot of the film, or it's a sequence that sets up who the villain is. Because for some reason they're very obvious in their following of the Dark Knight's rollout. Team Abrams has embraced, the Dark Knight approach since minute one of the sequel's announcement.
Yeah.
It feels, and they're going, the similar route that Dark Knight did when they revealed the first 6 minutes of Dark Knight. It feels like, dollars to donuts. I think they're going to be showing some Cumberbatch in 70 millimeter.
Okay.
It's either that or it's a teaser sequence that's completely free of the main plot.
Yeah, I like that idea. The sort of James Bond separate adventure, in 10 minutes kind of thing. Like, here's a little mini adventure that happened.
Right.
It has nothing to do with the main plot, but yeah, you're probably right. It might be more setting up the villain kind of thing. And a friend of mine actually was talking about how Abrams sometimes likes to play with kind of like flash forward, flash back type stuff. So if you could think back to Mission Impossible 3's opening, it was Tom Cruise was already in the chair, right? With this,
which is one of the best openings.
It's great. It's great.
It sets up everything: the hero, the villain, what he wants, what the hero wants, everything in 6 minutes done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it really. I feel like that 6 minutes or whatever really brought the Mission Impossible franchise back to life.
For sure.
Right there, but things were really lagging after the second film, and obviously, Abrams then had to make the rest of the movie enjoyable as well. But it really, I felt like there was such a real charge to the whole franchise, that sequence. So who knows? We'll see. This is December 14th, I believe.
December 14th, which means Scott and I will be camping out as soon as we finish this podcast.
Right. Speak for yourself. I'm already online. I'm actually dressed up as a Hobbit who is a Star Trek fan. So I've got
awesome.
my Hobbit thing on, but I'm wearing a TNG scant. Is that what it was called? A scant?
Right. Ensign I believe the name is Ensign Johnny Forever Virgin. Junior?
So, and also on the topic of theatrical Star Trek, Star Trek Next Generation Season 2 is getting a theatrical one night only deal, the way they did with the first season when it hit Blu-ray. So they're going to play 2 episodes. I think this is November 29th.
November 29th, yes.
Yeah.
I am so excited. Q-Who,
yeah.
Measure of a Man.
Which one is Measure of a Man and what?
Q-Who.
Q-Who, right, yes. Right. So actually, this time they're actually playing 2 good episodes. Was the season 1... and I went to this... I don't think you went to the season 1.
I did not, but I'm definitely going to season 2.
Okay. And so the season 1 screening, which I attended, was... it was great. And the episodes were not great necessarily, but the event itself was great, and seeing these things on the big screen and restored to HD and everything, it was really a lot of fun.
That's
so
awesome,
this is going to be great because these episodes are really, really good episodes as well. And
right, extended cut of Measure of a Man and the board done.
Right, yeah. What more could you ask for? So
yeah.
So maybe we'll podcast about that if we can get our shit together.
After Thanksgiving, I think we can, sir.
Okay, yeah.
It's also cool to note that this was the first time, back to Star Trek Into Darkness, this is the first time a Trek movie has been marketed in such a we're an event sort of way.
Yeah.
With a big blowout on IMAX, this big trailer announcement. That's unheard of for the franchise.
Yeah.
And it's a testament to the popularity of it now in the wake of Abrams' first Trek film. And it's kind of like a game changer, and it's appropriate for us to be talking about the first significant game changer in the Star Trek film canon, Wrath of Khan.
Yeah,
just in time
finally.
For its 30th anniversary 6 months ago. So that was a long-winded segue into at least 7,200 reasons why Wrath of Khan is an amazing piece of work.
Yeah. So there's so much to talk about regarding Wrath of Khan, right? But I think one thing we wanted to try to focus on a bit was ways in which it kind of expanded upon the Star Trek that had come before it, because it's crazy to think about it. But prior to Wrath of Khan, all you had was the original series.
Right.
You had the animated show, and you had the one movie, which was basically a dud, right?
Right.
And so Wrath of Khan really rejuvenated Star Trek. If it wasn't for Wrath of Khan, I don't know how much more Star Trek we would have had necessarily.
And the movie is still looked at fondly 30-some years later as one of the best sci-fi films ever, one of the best Trek films ever, if not the best Trek. I think it's arguable in some circles, and it's just a damn fine film.
Yeah.
I know when you watch a movie, it's a lot of times, the layers tend to peel back and you see some of the behind the scenes plot holes maybe, like you see it sort of fade. But for me, for Trek, either I'm not looking or it's not helping me to try to find holes, but it's a perfect movie to me. Every time I see it, I appreciate something new. I see it whenever it plays on the big screen, and I find a little detail in the corner somewhere that I've never seen before. And
the fake looking potted plants in the corridors of Starfleet headquarters, for example.
Yes, those are some of the graphics, some of the details on the no smoking signs on the consoles, shit like that.
The exit sign. There's isn't there just a regular plain old exit sign that you would see like in your middle school?
Right, in your doctor's office. Before we get into our love fest on it, I don't know about you, but Trek 2 and Trek 6 and First Contact, all three of those movies are like gateway treks for me. Like I can bring a lot of people that have never seen Trek before in with one of those films. Yeah. And I'm just wondering, do you have a cool story about how you introduced someone to Trek 2 and their mind was blown?
Star Trek 2. I don't know if I do, actually. I don't know
That
if
was an
I do.
awesome question, man. I'm sorry.
Thanks for dropping that one on me though, unexpectedly.
That concludes the broadcast, everyone. He was amazing.
I mean, the difference between you and me, Phil, is that you have friends and a social life. So
Well, you have a family, Bones.
I'll tell you this. I said to my wife, but because I knew we were going to be talking about Wrath of Khan, I said to my wife the other night, "Oh, do you want to watch Star Trek 2 with me?" And she said, "Nah."
What?
That was it.
Scott's single now. Scott is single now. He's a fresh bachelor.
Well, has Wrath of Khan been a gateway film for you? Have you shown it to people and they've gotten into Star Trek because of it?
I have. My old roommate had never seen it before, and we watched it on Blu-ray once, and he really dug it.
Yeah.
And that led to watching 6 and 8.
Oh, okay.
And he really dug First Contact. 2 has the better script, the better emotional themes, but 8 is pretty damn good.
Yeah.
It's very tight. And there were some friends in high school I introduced Star Trek to, and they sparked to it pretty well. It's a flawless film. It may not get you laid outside of London Vegas con type shit. It's definitely a movie that's worth having a following for.
Well, the thing about First Contact might be a little more effective as a gateway film because it's just more modern now, right? So
right.
For some audiences, there might be a cheese factor to Wrath of Khan, or
right.
even to Ricardo Montalban himself, and a lot of the aspects of the film have become so iconic that they've been parodied. So like Shatner yelling "Khan," right? Like that's become its own living organism. So people know about those things before they've even seen the film. But so when you finally do see the film, that Shatner yelling "Khan" moment isn't going to have the same effect either that it would have. It's not going to have the same life-altering effect that it had on me the first time I saw it on Showtime back in 1984 or whenever. So.
Right.
But I want to mention one thing that I love about Star Trek, and this is a Star Trek 2, and this is not a joke, and it just kind of speaks to the greatness of Nicholas Meyer, the writer-director, David Marcus. And I'm not joking. I love David Marcus. I don't necessarily love him as a character. He's kind of a dick, and I hate that sweater that he wears over his shoulders. But I love the concept of David Marcus and Savick, Kirstie Alley Savick, who I do love as a character, because I love what Nicholas Meyer was trying to do there. He was bringing a depth to the universe. It wasn't just the stagnant place where the same people, poor fucking Chekhov is still in the same position on the Enterprise. It's been 48 years and the guy's still stuck as navigator. There's no upward mobility in Starfleet. It's like no, Chekhov is now the executive officer of the Reliant, right?
Right.
And he, new people are moving in. There's this new wave, there's younger people, the next generation, if you will, and it's great. And then of course there's also all these emotional through lines with those characters, with obviously Kirk being the father who was not there for David Marcus. David Marcus is very resentful of this. Kirk, choosing his ship, and his whole entire life has always been about choosing the ship over someone like Carol Marcus and settling down, right? And then Spock, of course, the mentor to Savick, and these characters, they really, they're all so key to the finale of the film when Spock dies. You're feeling for all of them, when Savick starts to tear up inexplicably, the Vulcan starts to tear up at Spock's funeral. Man, gets me every time. And that's why
it's
it's
a powerful
disappointing that in Star Trek 6, which Nicholas Meyer also made, that the Valaris character was not Savick, because as great as that
would have
movie
been
is,
deeper.
yeah, and I think that originally the intention was for it to be Savick, and I don't know, they couldn't get Kirstie Alley or something, and they just changed it up. I think they could have still had it. Why not just still make it Savick and just recast?
For sure.
But,
I know that for 6, Nimoy kind of objected to Savick in the role, because he just didn't buy that she would betray him.
Oh, was it the Nimoy
and then
thing?
It was switched. Yeah, I think it was a Nimoy thing, and that's okay. I mean, I get it, and at the same time, he has 2, students. He has 2 Padawans, Savick and Voltus.
Right.
Like, where's Savick? But no, Marcus is great. It's great because Kirk, he loses a brother and gains a son.
Right. Yeah.
And
Who?
That's really beautiful. I mean, even speaking of it now, I'm getting big, girly man tears right now.
See, I told you. I knew there were other aspects of Star Trek that could make you cry.
Damn you, Scott.
Wait, let's back up. Let me just back up for a second, though. Savick and Valaris. There must be fan fiction out there about those two, right?
You mean slash fiction?
Slash fiction.
Yeah, I think there's some Brokeback Grissom going on.
Brokeback Grissom. Okay.
Yeah.
And Gus Grissom rolls over in his grave. I know all about it, man.
Yeah,
So.
You got it. Well, I want to ask you, Scott, one more Trek 2 question, and let's try to wrap up our love for this thing. So many iconic moments in the movie, right?
Yeah.
What is your favorite? Like, gun to your head, you're on a desert island, you could live forever rewatching this one beat. What would it be?
Oh gosh, it's
outside of the one you already said.
This is like Sophie's Choice.
This is like Sophie's Choice.
What was the one I already said? I can't even remember.
The Spock's funeral.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe the scene that comes right after that, which is when they're standing on the bridge, and they're all there. It's kind of leaning against the railing, looking at the Genesis planet, and the whole I feel young bones thing.
Right.
It's great. It's just great.
Amazing.
How about you?
I knew you were going to ask me that.
No comment?
I think I know this is, I want to find, a moment that is unique and original and all that, something poignant, but my favorite moment in all of Rathacon is from when they detect Reliant to when, Scotty's nephew is brought up to the Turbolith. That whole sequence is just so damn good. Like, I have such a vivid memory of watching that as a kid and acting it out with my toy ships of Reliant and Enterprise.
Oh, yeah.
And when I didn't have a Reliant, I'd use the Enterprise B, the star drive for the Enterprise B for some reason, and turned it upside down.
Perfect.
Yeah. And that sequence is great tension. You don't know exactly how it's going to play out, even if you have seen it. You're rooting for Kirk. Kirk is so vulnerable. He puts on his glasses. He's flying by the seat of his pants. He's flying against the clock. And the way Kirk says, "Here it comes."
Yeah.
And it's just great. And it's a victory, right? And Kirk completely dumbs it down. He downplays it. He almost slaps his crew on the wrist with that whole "I did nothing except for get caught with my britches down."
Yeah.
And that was that humbleness that Kirk showed is great.
Yeah, it's great. It is great. And there is even the scene is so tense, and yet there is that little bit of humor with the thing with the glasses. Does he say "damn" or something when he pulls his glasses out?
Yeah, because it's like he's got to put on his glasses in front of his crew / show his age. It's a nice little moment that speaks volumes about the themes of getting older and age versus wisdom versus experience going on in the film.
Yeah.
It's just great. It's
Well, the age and the whole thing about aging and death and everything. I mean, I don't think this is something that they really had gotten into prior to this movie, but it really became a theme of most of the Star Trek movies afterwards, or a lot of them anyway, right? I mean,
right.
Even the Next Generation films.
It's like they found the thematic equivalent of a homonym, you know, or synonyms, and like weaved it through 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8 for sure. Like age, kind of like all of the films really. Like age, turning death into a fighting chance to live. All of that. I mean, you could argue that that last one's a theme in a lot of movies, but Star Trek really, rode that in a variety of incarnations for several films.
Yeah.
But not once I feel that they come as close to the greatness that is Wrath of Khan. I mean, 6 is great, 4 is great, First Contact is great, but 2 is going to be on the list of best sci-fi movies in the top 10 for a long, long time. I mean, up to 30 years at least.
Now, when you look at Star Trek 3, which is a fine movie in itself, I guess.
The best odd-numbered Trek.
Yeah, but I mean, it really undoes everything that we're talking about here, right?
Does it?
I mean, kind of. I mean, so Kirk loses a brother but gains a son in Wrath of Khan, and then
he loses his son to get his brother back.
Yeah,
that's tragic to me. I get the whole, like, does it undercut the loss of Spock in 2, which is such a powerful scene? It kind of does. I mean, on paper, for sure. And at the same time, given the themes of Genesis and Rebirth, and, the closing line in Wrath of Khan, the whole, I must go to this place again. I like that how Spock's life is saved. I like that it's not an easy win, I like that it's tied to, like, he's genetically linked to Genesis deterioration. As Spock's born, Genesis dies. I really like that.
Yeah.
And also, the sound David makes when he's stabbed gets me every time. I would not trade that for anything. It's this
Plus,
weird,
they use
wet,
that
choking sound.
Oh yeah, I know. And they use that gnarly knife as that Klingon knife that opens for some reason.
Right.
Like it has like that retractable blade action.
Right. The extra fucks you up.
I just think that Meyer was charting a course, if you will, to sort of set up this bigger universe with new characters, and they really undid that pretty quickly, right? Because then,
I can see that. I understand that reaction to it for sure.
And it's sort of franchise. It's just franchise think. Like we don't have room for all these extra characters. We have our core group, but having said that, David Marcus and Savick were so much more interesting than Sulu or Chekhov or Scotty or Uhura. So
right.
You could have jettisoned some of those. It's not like getting rid of Savick and Marcus and like it's not like the filmmakers after Nicholas Meyer really did much to make Scotty and the gang any more interesting with the time.
You're right. You're right.
You know what I mean? But
they all got their little bits, in 3. And especially in 4, everyone has their little sphere of action to play in and stand out. But you're right. Yeah. It's all it's hard when Kirk, Spock, and McCoy are your big 3. It's hard to take the spotlight off them because it's so interesting, and your movie demands that you follow them more than the other characters.
Yeah. One other thing about it is I like that, and this is very kind of subtle, but the bottom line is Star Trek 2 is everything that happens in the film is the result of Kirk's sort of maverick approach to space diplomacy, right? Because
right.
he
Shoot first, ask questions way later.
yeah,
But,
like 20 years later. Yeah.
Right.
Like, I mean, they leave these guys on this planet, which they leave Khan and his people on this planet. SETI Alpha 5? Is that it?
Mm-hmm.
SETI Alpha or SETI Alpha 6? I can't remember.
This is SETI Alpha 5.
Okay, right. So
SETI
hence
Alpha
the confusion.
6 exploded 6 months, Scott, after they were left there.
That's right. Excuse me for getting that mixed up. So, and this is my point though. So no one 6 months after, no one bothered to check up on these people.
No one bothered to check up on our progress.
So Kirk paid the price for that, right?
He paid the ultimate price, and he's lucky he got out with it with his wife and his shipping cap. No, I think you're right, Scott. I mean, I've never really thought of the movie, like that aspect of the movie before. That, Kirk, he deposits this guy there, doesn't file any. Did he even bother to file a report in Space Seed? Was it some bureaucrat oversight that planet didn't get checked out? If there's a quote unquote plot hole, it's that no one followed up on SETI Alpha.
Yeah. I kind of feel like it's not a plot hole. I feel like this is Kirk, like this is how he did things. Like he left Khan to his own devices, which you could argue maybe that's even what Khan would have wanted back in the time of Space Seed, right?
Right.
Conquer his own world. But you can only do, even a genetic Superman with delusions of grandeur can only do so much when you've got a nearby planet exploding, right?
Maroon, yeah. What? I want to see the Robot Chicken special on where they cut back to Starfleet Command and they're getting the report about this, and like, so wait a minute. Well, all right, well, I'll dispatch, a ship along the route to check every couple of weeks or whatever. No big deal. Don't need to do it. But are you sure? I mean, this bitch started World War III. Like, genetically smarter than every computer tied together. You sure we don't want to check out on that? Don't waste it. Let's go get terrible.
Right. Basically, you've got like Hitler. Hitler it turns out, is still alive.
Right.
And we've left him on this planet. And
yeah, Genghis Khan. They basically have the Star Trek equivalent to the G.I. Joe Serpentor on a planet. Like, right? And it's not like summer camp, at least.
Right.
You're kind of like ditched there. I just don't buy that the 23rd century got to the place they got to after weathering the storm that was the eugenics wars. They don't have some sort of contingency in check. They don't. It's not a red flag for them. I'm surprised they don't nuke the planet from orbit. They dial up Section 31.
Well, maybe that actually explains what happened to SETI Alpha 6.
Yes, they hit the wrong planet. There was a typo in the report. So one last comment on Trek 2, and then a red shirt. If you doubt anyone's got a heart or tear ducts, you fire up Spock's death scene, and you watch it go like Niagara Falls.
Oh man!
If you want to find out if your significant other or a family member is a body snatcher or not, play that scene. If they have no emotional reaction to it, get the fuck out.
He's dead already.
He's dead already. I love that. I pinched that line once or twice in the script or two. Not gonna lie, it gets me every time. It's so damn good. The writing in that movie is so damn good.
Yeah, it really is.
It's not so good.
Man.
What, Scott?
I was just gonna say Spock as he crumples in the
you can't touch him.
Chamber.
Can't help him. Can't do anything. I know.
And it's like you can see like pieces of him are falling off or something, right?
Right, and his eyes are scorched blind from the radiation.
Oh man.
He's stumbling into shit.
That's right. He walks right into the he walks into the plexiglass. Yeah.
It's such a great detail,
Yeah.
So that's Star Trek 2. Thank you for, we've been talking about it for so long. We finally got it out of our system. This probably won't be the last time we talk about it, but it may be the last time for a while. We'll talk about it in depth. Definitely want to hear what you guys have to say about it. If you're a fan of it, if you're not a fan of it, how big of a fan of it are you? And just fire it off on our comments page on the Facebook. And
send us the Valaris Savick /fiction if you happen upon it.
They have some interesting simulator tests, I hear. Before we sign off, as always, the Red Shirt of the Week.
We take this time to remember those who have laid their lives down for Starfleet. This is the Red Shirt of the Week.
I think we've exhausted the supply from Wrath of Khan, minus the most infamous Red Shirt disaster of all time. The regular one massacre.
Yes, this is a community Red Shirt.
This is some weird David Koresh, Charles Manson shit that happened off screen. You know, you have that Atreyu-looking scientist guy on Regula who's all like, but what about Reliance? She's on her way. His ass gets taken out along with everyone else. And it's not like they got phasered or anything. They were humped. They were hanged. Yeah,
it was. Yeah.
Their throats were
Captain
slit.
Terrell went out okay compared to them, actually.
Right. He got off easy. He had a Disney movie ending compared to those people. They had their throats slit. They were hung. As McCoy finally tells us, rigor didn't set in, so this must not have happened long ago. But it happened long ago, where rats are crawling the fucking decks. That's terrible.
I love when McCoy stumbles upon the first body. It's like
it's hanging
someone hanging
down.
there, right?
Yeah, and a bloody hand smacks him in the face.
Yeah.
He lifts up that great Jim. And then there's Kirk, who has this weird face of, this isn't the first time I've done this, as he's flipping the slack to the rope to lower the body down.
Well, wait, Kirk, autoerotic asphyxiation doesn't count, though.
No, it doesn't. No, like that shitty pool with the Elaine of Troyes does not count, no. Right, I made that reference. But those poor bastards died for science, which is clearly one of the worst ways a Red Shirt can go, because science and Trek.
Yeah, they died for the Genesis device, which turned out to be a big fucking failure.
Which is ironic. They died for something that's supposed to bring life, not lifelessness.
You know, those guys, as I recall, in the novelization of Star Trek II, which I read probably around the time the movie came out.
I bought that at a book club at school, at a book fair.
Did you really?
Yeah, I had no idea what it was. I was too young to really comprehend why there was a book about the movie.
I think that they fleshed out those characters a little bit more, the other scientists on Regular One. As I remember, a little bit. There was a little bit more to them, who they were, and that even I think it got into their designs, the specific designs that they built into the Genesis device, in terms of how the planet itself would be created or something, and what the planet would look like. I remember something like that. I
can see why they cut that out of the movie. I mean, especially I want to watch PBS Nova with my Wrath of Khan. I have to show some restraint, you know what I mean? That's cool, man. I wish I remembered the book. I wish I still had it.
I think that's gonna be in the director's cut anyway.
Right, for sure.
45 minutes of geographical design work by those guys, and
but with Marcus singing the lyrics to 3-2-1 Contact. There. And on that note,
I don't think anyone's gonna get that reference.
But Scott, you did, and again, she can reach one person.
Okay.
And we bring it full circle. Thank you for listening to another fine installment of Transporter Room 3. like us on Facebook, star the shit out of us on iTunes, give us some love on Twitter, and if you still use Friendster, we're there too.
No, we're not.
I know. I just wanted to see if anyone would look. Scott, a pleasure as always, sir.
Yes.
And we'll see you on Duet Island.